guys, welcome back to another video, special edition on the couch with Kara and Cassie. It's been a while. I wanted to chat about the difference between animals and human beings and how they handle stress, and also why our furry friends here can be so much more calm and relaxed, and the difference between their brains and our brains and the way that we think. So you may or may not have seen the meme or like the little image or whatever. It went around a few years ago, and it was all about how it was like the human walking beside his dog, and it was like my brain versus my dog's brain, and it had the little thought bubbles. I'll put it in here. This was such a game changer for me when I saw this, because when I first saw this a few years ago, it was when I was doing my mindfulness training. And I was someone who always thought mindfulness was the stupidest thing and really had a lot of judgment towards it and felt like it was just like a weird made up thing that wasn't actually going to be all that helpful, right? That was my own personal bias because of, I guess, the thoughts I had, the things I believed in at the time. But when I saw that picture, I really was like, wow, okay, like, it's so true. When I'm out walking the dog, and Cassie, you know, she is just like prancing. She's so excited. She's out for a walk. And no, I don't know exactly what's going on in her mind, but most likely she's just like excited to sniff new things, to see the squirrels, and to be outside and like just have that attention and that time and that energy, right? Whereas like if someone were to look in my mind, I would be replaying all the things that happened throughout the day. I'd probably be stressed about like, oh, I have to get home because I have this thing to do and all these things on my to-do list, and like whatever's going on in my life, all of that would be going throughout my head. And so part of the whole mindfulness practice and mindfulness teaching is to start to create this separation from your thoughts and stop heavily identifying with all the thoughts that you have, becoming the observer of the thoughts and like taking a step back. And in doing this process, everything will start to change for you in all areas of your life, because you're no longer letting these thoughts rule you and like show up every day and dictate your beliefs and your actions. You're actually able to kind of catch them, see them, and be like, oh, okay, like this is just a thought. Like this isn't actually happening, or this isn't actually reality. And it's funny, I was talking with a client this morning and we were discussing the whole overthinking mind, right? And again, this is something I struggled with insanely. I would be that person who would be overthinking every possible thing in a scenario, and I would have a billion different ideas of, okay, if this happens and this person says this to me, here's what I would say back. And then here's what they're probably going to say to that. And then here's how I'd respond to that. And I'd work up this big situation, and then my mind would go, oh, Kara, but what if they said this? In step one, what if they said this instead? And then it'd be like, whoa, okay, well, then I would say this. And like, I'd have to plan out every single step of this hypothetical situation, and it was freaking exhausting. And you can let me know in the comments if you've ever been in that situation where your mind's just like creating all these stories and all these, like it's preparing for these hypothetical situations that more often than not do not even happen, and it leaves you really stressed and drained. At least I found it did, and you can let me know if you relate, because what really started to shift for me as I started to do more of the mindfulness work was realizing, okay, these thoughts are not serving me. They're not helping at all. They're not making me feel better in any way, and like, what's the benefit, right? And like, how much energy am I wasting each day on these things that don't even end up happening? And I think for me, it really clicked when I finally saw, wow, you're you're like spending all this time planning something that never even happened. So what could you have been doing instead, right? And that's the thing, because it's like, oh, I could have been reading a book, I could have been actually accomplishing the things that were stressing me out, I could have been spending time with family or friends, I could have had a nap. Even that would have been better than overthinking this horrible situation. So the thing with the human mind and the way that it works and the way it really attaches and clings to things is like, that's the ego mind, okay? So the ego mind has its identity about who it believes you are. And I talk about this inside my free mindset training. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. The link's down below. I go into this with identity and character and all those things even more, because this is what I coach people on. But the thing about your identity, the thing about your ego is that it really attaches. So your ego believes, this is what is true for me, this is who I am. Your ego probably even believes like, oh, I'm an overthinker, or I'm anxious, this is the truth, right? It's really clinging to this story. It's also really identified with the characteristics about who you are and what's possible or available for you. So it's really quite limiting. And when you start to separate and take a step back from this, you go, wait a minute, like I actually have the power to think a different story. And I actually have the power to change my thoughts and change my focus so that I'm not spending all day overthinking a million hypothetical situations that are just causing me more stress, right? You get to see your thoughts. I love this teaching. Osho talks about it as the way of the white cloud, or that's one of the books, and I really love it. But your thoughts are like white clouds in the sky. They are not the sky. The sky is blue, the sky is expansive, it is limitless, it can do anything. I can't do anything, but like it is everything. You know, it's so far, it goes on for farther than our eyes can see. The thought is just the white cloud passing by, and we don't understand that about our minds. We think, Cassie agrees. She just wants to go to sleep. We think that the thoughts are the blue sky and we are the cloud that has like no control, it's just there, right? But like the thoughts are consuming, they're everywhere, right? And this is the opposite. So when you start to understand this and you really apply this to your own life, you can look at the fact that like you get to be in control of your thoughts, and you get to be the puppet master instead of the puppet. And that's what I talk about in my free training, because you can start to practice this awareness, which is something I always talk about, right? You practice the awareness around, okay, here's all these thoughts coming through, here's all these clouds coming through in my head, but I am not the clouds, like I am not these thoughts. So if I step back and create this separation here, hey, stay. If I step back and create this separation here and look at these thoughts and look at these clouds, well, now I get this newfound clarity and this better understanding, and I actually realize that I have the control to change what I'm thinking and feeling about the situation. So thinking as if your thoughts are just white clouds passing by, how can you create more non-attachment to them so that they're not consuming and like dictating your whole life or the rest of your day? So that would be my recommendation, and that's something, as I said, that has really changed my life and helped so much when it came to breaking out of my thought pattern. So I started to really look at, my head's like half out of this now. Oh, that dog. What really changed everything for me was when I started to look at this differently and realize the power that I had over my mindset, over my life, instead of letting the ego control and say, this is who I am, this is Like, I used to identify with anxiety and say, I'm an extremely anxious person. Oh, I'm like an overthinker. That's just me. Like, no, that is what happens when you have an uncontrolled mind. You are not an overthinker. You became an overthinker because of your habits and because of the things you experienced and the people who were around you growing up. You adapted to become an overthinker. Same with anxiety. You are not anxious. You became anxious, and you may experience anxiety, but it is not you. So creating this separation from the labels and the identity is going to allow you to start to see that you are more than that symptom and that you can create changes around it. And I have an amazing ebook about anxiety. I'll post that down below too. If you are someone who really struggles with this, inside this ebook, I'm sharing 7 powerful tools. I used all of these in my own life to help break out of my anxious patterns. And then the mindfulness, obviously, on top of that is really, really crucial, and the mindset training. So realize you are the one in control. Don't let your mind rule your life. You rule your mind so that you can do the things you want to do. And that's really where all the power lies. So definitely check out those resources, and I will see you on the next video. Please hit the thumbs up. Please feel free to share if you found this helpful. If you know someone who struggles with anxiety or overthinking and they're always in their head playing these stories, getting caught up, make sure you share this with them. And yeah, see you guys on the next one.